What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Your Sports Digest. I am your host, Alex McNinch. Hand up. You know what? This is on me. First part of the podcast, taking accountability. I last week said I was going to do 2 episodes and completely just forgot. Had no time to do the other episodes. Had some other stuff going on that just completely took my mind away from doing the podcast or having time to do it. So, did not do an episode this past weekend, previewing what was happening during the weekend. So that's on me. I'm going to make up to you guys with 2 this week. But we've had a lot to talk about from this past weekend and the past week that was. And feels very fitting that we're going to have 2 this week with the MLB All-Star break happening and the second half of the season starting up at the end of the week. We got to preview some stuff before that gets all started. We got the World Cup to react to, and we got to do a podcast before the World Cup final on Sunday. So we'll do a bunch of that stuff, and obviously any other news and notes from around the sports world we'll get to in both episodes this week. But this episode primarily, we've got a lot to talk about. Follow us on all of our social medias at Your Sports Digest, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube's Your Sports Digest as well for shorts. And go check our website, yoursportsdigest.com as well. One-stop shop for literally everything you need involving my podcast and my media platform. So this is an interesting one for this episode, just because we normally don't lead off with baseball, but because I am recording on Monday morning, and tonight is the MLB Home Run Derby for the All-Star break in Philadelphia, I will lead off the show with the Home Run Derby and talking about this and kind of, my predictions, my thoughts on, what to expect tonight. And I know I'm gonna lead it off with just the fact of it's happening tonight, and if people are going to see this and see the Home Run Derbies advertised, they're going to want to click and try to hear what's going on. So we're going to start off with it all. First, let's go down the list and talk about the guys who are going to be in the Home Run Derby tonight. This is at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. It's on Netflix. Fair warning. I just learned that as well. When I was writing down the competitors, I got an ad that popped up and said it was going to be on Netflix. So if you're trying to look for it, that's where it's going to be. But as I already mentioned, this All-Star game, this All-Star weekend or week, whatever it's going to be called, is taking place in Philadelphia. So keep that in mind when we're talking about some of the contestants here. It's an 8-man field as always. They got new rules this year, which are kind of cool and make it feel a little bit better. If you're an avid Home Run Derby watcher or a baseball fan, you know that the format of the Home Run Derby has shifted in the past decade plus, kind of to a more different time frame, time allotted Home Run Derby style, where instead of outs you have to accumulate, you have to do it within a 2 or 3 minute time frame with timeouts and all this kind of stuff, but it felt very rushed. It felt very forced. They've changed the format a little bit this year, where there's going to be a certain amount of outs that have to be recorded. Within this, there's also the chance that if you hit a home run on your last swing, if you have to hit a home run on the last swing that you get, then you can continue to go as long as you continue to hit home runs, which makes it interesting and allows the players to kind of get in a groove and a rhythm and not have to worry too much about, we got to just start swinging as fast as we can. So breaking down the field of 8 that we're going to be seeing tonight at the Home Run Derby, first leading off the easy favorite, one of 2 Philadelphia Phillies playing in the Home Run Derby here, and it's Kyle Schwarber. He's got 32 home runs this year already in the first half of the season. It feels like he's almost a consensus lock to win this thing tonight, which typically is not a good sign because it's normally not the guy who is guaranteed to win or the favorite to win that ends up winning in these things. But if there's anybody that has proven to do so and proven to perform in the Home Run Derby, it's Kyle Schwarber. He was a finalist in 2018, 2019 with the Cubs. I believe it was 2018 in the Washington Home Run Derby where he faced off against now teammate Bryce Harper when he was on the Cubs, was a finalist in that one. Last year, if you remember in the All-Star game where it went down to a swing-off, Kyle Schwarber ran the table and was able to secure the win for the National League in that affair. But now he's in a hometown environment, is the leading home run getter in the MLB at the first half. He is going to be the number one guy to watch out for and pretty much the guy to bet on if you are a betting person when it comes to the rest of this field. It's the combination of, who we're getting in this based on the location of the All-Star game and everything surrounding that. So I would lean towards Kyle Schwarber if I were anybody betting, but he's got also a competitor in his fellow teammate from the Philadelphia Phillies, a guy we just mentioned just a few minutes ago, or just a few seconds ago, even at this point. Bryce Harper is going to be competing in this. He has 20 homers on the year, another Philadelphia guy that's going to be doing it. He won the one in 2018 or whatever I just mentioned a little bit ago as well. So that's another guy to pay attention to here just because of the Philadelphia home crowd. Other guys that are in this, Junior Caminero, who is having a breakout season for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's got 28 homers at the break. Stupid pop from the right side. He had an appearance in the Home Run Derby last year, I believe, as well. I think he went to the finals. Honestly, if I'm trying to remember this correctly, I think he was in the finals of last year's Home Run Derby. So that's a guy to obviously watch out for. Outside of him, Munetaka Murakami, a Japanese sensation coming over to the Chicago White Sox, who had a lot of question marks around him and his offseason and how much he signed for, where he signed with, the questions on with, is he going to handle fastballs? Is he going to be able to handle the heat in the MLB? And he hit 20 home runs in the first half. And if it weren't for a hamstring injury that put him out for 6 or 5 weeks, I believe, he just returned the other day, he would probably have close to 30 if I had to guess by now. But he's coming in at 20 and just coming off of an injury. I don't know how hard he's going to push himself within this. But also it could mean like, hey, he's fully rested, ready to go for this Home Run Derby and can show out in it, which would be exciting to see as well. The other guys that are in this to finish off the final few, Jordan Walker, who is having a breakout year for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's got 22 homers, was a former top prospect in the MLB, just kind of never really found his footing over the past few years, struggled mightily, was bouncing up back and forth between Memphis and St. Louis and AAA and the majors, and this year has just clicked for Jordan Walker. 22 homers, as I mentioned, for him on the road in a fellow National League ballpark that he has played in a little bit. Jack Caglione, another member of this, a Gator. Should I also mention, whenever I get a chance to talk about a Gator, we got a Gator in the field. 15 homers in the first half, so not that much compared to the rest. However, Cags is a guy that has extreme power, hits the ball very hard, is, I think, 99th percentile in exit velocity in the MLB. So obviously is a guy to watch out for there, especially in Philadelphia with a left-handed swing that we're used to being able to see with Schwarber and Harper in this. Expect him to make some noise in this as well. Wilson Contreras for the Boston Red Sox. He's hit 20 in the first half as well. I'm very, very happy that Wilson Contreras is in here. I'm not going to spend this time to talk about what the Red Sox have done the past few weeks, because that'll be something we talk about this next podcast at the end of the week. But Wilson Contreras has been the guy at the forefront for this Red Sox surge over the past few weeks, and this season overall has been the bright spot offensively. I can't remember if I mentioned 20 home runs for him, but this is the first Red Sox to be in the Home Run Derby since David Ortiz did it in 2011, I believe. So that's really cool for me as a Red Sox fan to have somebody to actually root for in this. So Wilson Contreras is in there. And finalizing this field is Ben Rice from the New York Yankees. He's got 29 on the year, has been struggling a little bit as of late, but whenever you can get a Yankee in there and a guy who is at the top of the American League in home runs at the first half in Ben Rice, you're going to have to get him in there. So, as I mentioned at the start, Kyle Schwarber's probably the guy to bet on. If I were to choose one, I would not be surprised. It's going to come down to Schwarber, Caminero, and expect Munetaka and Murakami to put on a show. So Schwarber, Caminero, Murakami are my three guys to watch for. Obviously, not that big of a hot take based on the fact that two of them were finalists in a home run derby before and are two of the best home run hitters in the MLB. But those are the guys that are going to put on a show tonight in Philadelphia, and I'm super excited to see how that all turns out. Now, we've got a bunch to talk about here, which this is now taken over the entirety of the world with the World Cup. So many countries have been able to come to the United States and get involved with these activities and these matches. And I think it's been really, really great to see the overall excitement around the games in this country, which it's just so cool to me that the United States gets to host the World Cup. It's not something we are used to getting to do, and especially when there was a lot of excitement around the home country's team this year. But this past week, the World Cup has shrunken from the round of 16 down to the final four. So there's to put it in a little bit into a basketball term for you, the Sweet 16. Now we're at the final four. For those of you who might not be as familiar in soccer, we're in the semifinals right now. Let's talk about how we have gotten to this point in the games that we are going to watch this week. First, France took on Morocco in the quarterfinals, and were able to shut them out 2-0 and move on to the final four, the semifinal. And then in the same side of that bracket on Friday, I believe it was Friday at this point, Spain ends up beating Belgium, which was the team that knocked out the United States. Spain scores in the 88th minute. Spain was leading for a lot of this game, and then Belgium, or I guess a lot of the first half, and then Belgium at the end of the first half scores and ties it up with a nice header. Spain scores in the 88th minute, knocks out Belgium, so we'll get France and Spain. We'll talk about that a little bit in just a minute. And then the two games that were played on Saturday, England and Norway, what a game that was. This is the first time that Erling Haaland for Norway has not scored in a single game in the World Cup for Norway since they've lost in 2024. I believe it was to England or to another country, I forget, but things don't change in this one. Haaland doesn't score, Norway doesn't win. England ends up beating Norway in extra time 2-1. Jude Bellingham for England, scoring both of those goals when all the attention was on Harry Kane and how well he's performed. The second guy, I would say, on this team steps up and was super impressive. And for people that don't watch soccer as much, you tune into that game, you think Jude Bellingham is like the best player in the world based on what we've seen, but he's going to put his name in the conversation based on how this is all turned out from the World Cup. And now people are starting to wondering if it's coming home to England finally in the World Cup, but not too fast because they've got to play one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT. Not my argument. I'm not that well versed in soccer to be able to hold the argument as to who's the greatest soccer player of all time. But Argentina beat Switzerland in extra time 3-1. It was 1-0 for most of the game. Switzerland scores and sends us to extra time, and then in extra time, Argentina scores twice with one beautiful goal. What a beautiful goal for the first goal that ended up taking them into the 2-1 lead. So Argentina ends up winning that. Messi doesn't score at all. But now we set up some really, really fun matchups and have a chance for a rematch of the 2022 World Cup final. But first we have a chance to see the 2020, I guess, was it 4 or 25? I guess it had to be 24. The 2024 Euro champions, Spain, are going to be taking on France. So Mbappe, if you don't know, obviously, who he is, he's arguably one of, if not the best player in the world. So France versus Spain will happen on Tuesday. That's that side of the bracket. And then on the other side, England versus Argentina with a chance to go to the final. Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham versus Lionel Messi, and could potentially set up a chance. That game's on Wednesday, by the way. Could potentially set up a chance for a rematch of the 2022 World Cup final between France and Argentina, which is one of the best games consensusly. I guess that's a word. Who knows? Overall, the consensus believe one of the best soccer matches of all time between France and Argentina in that 2022 World Cup, which led to a penalty shootout at the end. So maybe we get a rematch there. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. But I'd also like to see England get the chance to go to the final and try to bring it home. I'm not a fan of the France-Spain side of the bracket, so I'm going to be cheering for whoever comes out of England and Argentina on Wednesday. The losers of both games will play each other for third place on Saturday evening, I believe. I think it's Saturday evening. And then, obviously, as I mentioned at the start of the show, the winners of these two matches will play in the World Cup final at MetLife Stadium on Sunday afternoon. I think it's slated for 1 or 2 o'clock. So exciting. Very, very, very exciting for soccer. I think if you are listening to this and you're not a soccer guy, or you haven't watched the World Cup much, or you've kind of just kept up with what teams are or what countries are in it and what the scores have been, I think now is the best time to hop in and try to watch it. The best time was as soon as we got to the knockout stages, but really, really full court pressing you this time for you to step in and watch these games, because France and Spain are two of the best teams in the world, obviously. England and Argentina are two of the best players in the world. These are 4 countries that were in the top 5 favorites to win the World Cup, I'd say. So you're getting really good football or soccer matches. Whoa, you've almost already convinced me over. That was kind of crazy. You're getting 2 really good matches in the middle of this week, and then an incredible finale, I assume, at the end of the week and the weekend. We'll cover that when we get there and have some reactions from the games that happened in the World Cup. But again, France and Spain Tuesday, England, Argentina on Wednesday, with a chance to see who is going to go to the World Cup final on Sunday. And the final sport we're going to talk about here is the one that, if you're listening to this podcast, you know we go on and on and on about this sport. And it's one of those that I have great enjoyment scouting and watching film and doing different interactions with the draft and free agency and whatnot in the NBA. And we've talked about it on this podcast for the past week or two about the NBA Summer League and how it's kicking off and how games have already been happening. But we've really fully immersed ourselves into the Las Vegas Summer League experience so far. Game started on Thursday night, and we were able to see guys like AJ Dybantsa take on Darren Peterson. And then the next night, we got Cam Boozer versus Caleb Wilson. And some other guys were able to shine, and some names that you might have heard in college basketball have some really good performances, or guys you maybe haven't ever heard of having some great performances. So let's kind of go through everything here real quick in the Summer League and what has been going on. First, as I mentioned, Dybantsa versus Peterson. Washington took on Utah in the first primetime game of Summer League on Thursday night when it debuted in Vegas at the Thomas & Mack Center, and we got a game. We had a really great game between Dybantsa and Peterson, and both of those guys have had really solid starts to Summer League after playing 2 games now. Dybantsa, 25 points per game on 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 39% from the field, 2.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks for Dybantsa in those first 2 games. And the number 2 pick in Peterson, 23.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, 4 assists on 33% shooting from the field and 30% from 3. And I think after we watched the Utah Summer League, everybody the original Salt Lake City Summer League where there were the 4 teams between the Grizzlies, Jazz, Hawks, and Thunder. And seeing Peterson play in those games, people were jumping to conclusion immediately, being like, oh, man, I don't know what Washington was thinking, but we're seeing Peterson and Boozer, and there's no way Dybantsa is going to be better than that. And then we have to deal with this discourse for the week leading up to Dybantsa's debut for the Wizards. And I think a lot of people lost the plot. A lot of people lost the idea of who AJ Dybantsa was, what he was able to do as a freshman at BYU. And, I mean, I'm not discrediting Boozer or Peterson or whoever else, but I think we really lost the idea, and we were able to gravitate towards what we were seeing in front of us immediately and tend to forget about what we've seen the past year in college basketball and the past few years in the AAU and high school circuit. And when we got to Thursday night to see AJ Dybantsa play against Darren Peterson, we were able to see, okay, never mind. I see why this guy could go number 1. I know this guy could go number 1 too, but I really see why they went with this guy. And Dybantsa was awesome, had a nice poster, was getting to the line, I know it's Summer League, so some of the stats are skewed just based on the fact that the refs are not NBA referees. They're G League or just trying to break into the refereeing circuit. So the officials are not NBA level officials, I would say. But so you're going to see a lot more ticky-tack fouls or any contact. There's going to be a whistle. Guys flop. It's going to be a whistle. So I think take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to, how things have gone. But the eye test, you're able to see Dybantsa and the confidence he has coming down the court or going downhill, getting in isolation, playing with his back to the basket. Very, very confident in everything he's done. And, I mean, there was a highlight or a moment from last night that a lot of people were taking note of when Washington took on Sacramento. And we were able to see AJ get the ball, come down in transition, and pull it from 3 with confidence, which is one of the skill sets that people have questioned about whether Dybantsa was going to be a good three-point shooter or an above-average three-point shooter. And he came down with confidence and pulled it from 3, and it really was like it was the start of the game, and it was like, oh, okay, all right. If he's coming with confidence, that's all that matters. So we were able to see why AJ Dybantsa was great. We've been able to see why Darren Peterson is great. But it's always been talked about as not just a 2-man race in this draft, but it's a top 4. It's a 4-man draft class. And in that second game on Friday night between the number 3 and the number 4 picks, and Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson with the Grizzlies and the Bulls, we were able to see why those 2 guys were also included in this race of a 4-person draft. Cam Boozer we've gotten to see in Salt Lake City as well as Darren Peterson, so I'm not going to harp on this too much. And the Grizzlies have only played 1 game, so there's no real stats. This is just from that game against Chicago against Caleb Wilson. Boozer at 23, 6, and 4 on 58% shooting, knocked down a 3. Again, I can't repeat this enough. And sure, am I a Grizzly fan? Am I going to be biased? Absolutely. I don't care. The confidence that he has is off the charts. The IQ that he has is next level. He carries himself as a 10-year vet when he's 18 years old. I think it's very common that people are saying that now. I'm very impressed with how Cam Boozer has been able to take this next level of the NBA and see guys who are fellow college peers or guys who have been in this league already and take them on with no fear and full confidence. And it's incredible to watch. I'm excited to see how this continues to play out. I don't know how much longer Boozer will play for the Grizzlies in Summer League. I assume he might play 2 more games maximum So we'll see what goes with that. But his counterpart in this game, his college rival, should I say, with a Duke UNC rival, in Caleb Wilson, who was kind of forgotten, again, in the same boat as AJ Dybantsa. We were able to see Peterson and Boozer early. So Dybantsa and Wilson kind of were just afterthoughts to these people because we're so high on the two guys and seeing what they've done recently for us. And Caleb Wilson says, don't worry, I won't forget. I played against him in the first matchup. We won on a buzzer beater against Duke. My second matchup, I got hurt again, and I couldn't play in that game, so I couldn't get my leg up on him. I'm going to take what I was going to bring into that game into this game. And Caleb Wilson did that exactly. 35-5 with 3 blocks for Caleb Wilson in that game one against the Grizzlies. He set a record for the most points by a first-round pick in their Summer League debut. With the 35, it was previously 29, which was set by AJ Dybantsa on the first night of Summer League. So the rookies in this class already making history in Summer League. But the thing to talk about Caleb Wilson was he knocked down 7 threes. 7 threes Caleb Wilson knocked down. We talked about him in the pre-draft process about if he can get his shot, if he can develop it a little bit to become a stretch and complete his game as a whole, then watch out. And man, watch out, because if this is anything close to what we're going to be getting out of him going forward, was this an anomaly? Potentially. I think he hit 7 total threes at UNC. So for him to hit 7 in one game, and he was hitting some from like 38 feet, and it's like, all right, man, I don't know what's going on right now, but this is ridiculous. But seeing him perform and shoot lights out like he did from beyond the arc, as it being one of his biggest questions, instantly is like, oh, I mean, this is going to be the best draft class in NBA history. Do we want to overreact or not? I'm going to overreact. This could be the best top 4 in NBA history when we look back on it in 10 years, seeing how all these guys will end up being. I was really, really impressed with how Caleb Wilson played in game one, had a couple chase down blocks, was an energy guy as well. Like I've come out of this game overly impressed about Caleb Wilson and how he was able to perform. But when we talk about this draft, top 4, the 5th guy in this draft we haven't really got to see, and in his first game was really, really, really rough for the Clippers in Keaton Wagler. He was struggling bad, couldn't get a shot off. They were playing the Sacramento Kings, couldn't get a shot off, was loose with the dribble, not really, kind of everything that people were worried about with Wagler going into the draft and through the process was, he's 6'5", that's great, but he's not athletic. He's not that fast. He's not as strong. He's going to get bodied by other people. And we saw all that kind of on display in one game there. And then he plays last night against the Utah Jazz, and all of those questions we saw in game one kind of are just like dry erase board. We got a marker, we'll wipe it down with the eraser. Let's start the new game. That's exactly what we were able to see with Wagler last night. 23 and 4 for him, 4 for 7 from 3-point range. And Wagler seemed a little bit more comfortable watching it over again last night and seeing him get to his spots and seeing him pull up with confidence compared to the first night where, he was getting blitzed, and the second he saw the help defender was immediately like, okay, I got to pick up my dribble, find the next pass to get rid of the ball. But tonight, he saw the second defender and would pull back and do stuff that I saw him do at Illinois, which made him as great as he was and the prospect that he was, and have a little bit more confidence in what he was trying to do. Was great on the catch and shoot as well from 3, which is going to be key for him when he's playing alongside a guy like Darius Garland, who sets up his teammates really, really well. He's not going to be on the ball as much, so him to being a catch and shooter off the ball is extremely important, and we saw that on display as well last night. So glad for Keaton Wagler to get that second game out of his way and kind of get the confidence back up he needs to be able to do going forward for the rest of Summer League and heading into his rookie season with the Clippers. But those are the top 5 guys to really talk about from this draft, the top 5 picks. But there's some other guys who have gone under the radar, and I've been massive fans of. One of them, Tyler Nickel from Vanderbilt, playing for the Knicks Summer League. This is a big one, I think, and I'll talk about it here in just a second. But Nickel shot 47.6% from three in these 2 Summer League games he's played so far, 17 points per game for him. And this is massive for the Knicks because whenever you see a team win a championship, obviously guys are going to get paid. Guys are going to have to get moved because financial flexibility and be able to keep the core guys together. So you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Some guys are going to come and go. But for the Knicks, getting guys who are on cheap contracts, 2-way contracts that show promise like this and are shooters. Shooters importantly being a shooter in the NBA for a team like the Knicks, who guys coming off the bench are expected to be 3-and-D energy guys, mainly 3 guys. And Tyler Nickel, if he can be able to translate this to NBA games instead of Summer League games, this is a great pick for the New York Knicks in the second round, being able to get him out of Vanderbilt. Another guy who if you watch college basketball, is a household name for you because you've seen him play at multiple schools. But for some people, you might not have heard this name ever before, or maybe haven't heard it in like 4 years and are shocked to hear it. But Arthur Kaluma, out of Creighton in Texas, playing for the Lakers in the Summer League, he's unconscious right now. I don't really know what's going on. He's averaging 26 points, 4.5 rebounds, 76% from the field, and 63% from 3. Like, what is going on? He is unconscious right now. The game on, I guess it was Friday night or Saturday night when they played the Mavericks. It must have been Saturday night. He was just chucking. And it was money every time, and it's like, okay, well, what's going on here? This guy's on a complete heater. So, again, a team like the Lakers who need cheap contracts, guys who are on lower deals that can come in and play, look no further than a guy like Arthur Kaluma. And then finally, the last guy that is under the radar that has had a great summer league, and I've been so high on this guy. If you looked at my mock draft or my draft board, he's a guy that was projected to be in the 70s in player rankings or undrafted. But for me, I honestly should have put him way higher than I did have him. It's Trey White out of Kansas. He's playing for the Miami Heat. He's playing at a different level right now for the Heat, averaging 14.5, 7.5 rebounds on 41.7% from 3. This is, again, I'm going to beat a dead horse here, but for a team like the Heat, with Giannis now and Bam and all these big contracts, these guys are so important. And Trey White was a guy that at Kansas, just because Darren Peterson was there, didn't get as much shine, but in the moments where Peterson sat out of games, were pulled out of games, Trey White was a guy that you were able to see consistently knock down threes and in the right spots, always crashing the glass, and he's doing that at the next level. And I'm really happy that I was able, I don't want to say I discovered the guy, obviously, but I'm really happy that I was able to see this as soon as I did, to kind of build a little bit of a hype around myself and around others on this platform about who he could be. So Trey White has impressed in Summer League so far. This is even going back to Sacramento Summer League or the California Classic, whatever it's going to be called. But Trey White, also watch out for him for the rest of Summer League. Guys in their second year who have been really, really good. Will Riley had a really great game last night. He was okay in his first game, but they're trying to push him to be on the ball more as a point guard, which is kind of crazy considering the fact he's like 6'7", and his profile doesn't look like point guard, but him being on the ball has forced him to do different things, which is great for the Wizards in making their roster and lineup more versatile. Will Riley's been really good. Jace Richardson for the Orlando Magic in his second year out of Michigan State has looked just like one of those guys that you see in Summer League, and it's like, yep, they're just better than everybody else. Sounds good. Liam McNeely was a late first-round pick, projected late lottery, outside of the lottery pick last year in the draft, picked by Charlotte late in the first round, and kind of got some moments last year to show a little bit what he's got. But here in the Summer League, again, another dude comes in, shooting lights out, looks better than everybody else. But this was a top prospect, top recruit before in his class. So this isn't really that, it's surprising to a lot of people who have seen him play before. We knew it was going to take a minute for him to adjust after his freshman year at UConn. And he's showing it all now here in Charlotte. Kamal Malawak in his second year for the Phoenix Suns. He's going to take on another role this year as the backup big and potentially could start over Mark Williams by the time that this season ends. He's hitting threes now. That's exciting. Joan Beringer, as I've mentioned in my TikToks, was the guy to watch for the Timberwolves, and especially important now dealing with the idea that Julius Randle and Naz Reid both are traded. Beringer is going to be a guy that is going to be a staple for this Wolves rotation as the backup five, and once Rudy is done, potentially the guy that takes over at the starting five. He's an interesting lob threat, rebounding guy, above the rim finisher. He's looked really good in his first game so far. And then Cedric Howard for the Memphis Grizzlies looked really good on ball defensively against good players, knocking down threes, help slide blocks, even better with the ball in his hand, figuring out where he needs to be and where his shot is. He's looked really good, along with some other second-year guys as well. So as the Summer League continues to progress on throughout the next week, the rest of this week are going to be the rest of the, quote-unquote qualifier games before they get to the playoffs for the Summer League, which I assume is at the end of this week and the weekend. We'll talk about all that when we get there as well. But so far, the top picks have shown why they're the top picks. And some of these guys who are in the second round could help out these different teams who need cheap contracts and need guys that they can find as diamonds in the rough. So Summer League's fun. I love it more than most people do, but it's a lot of fun to watch college guys that you've seen play over the years and then future guys in this NBA who are going to be superstars and stars and household names. It's a lot of fun to watch. But overall, this week has been a lot of great things in sports, and I know that this week upcoming is going to be just as good, if not even better. Home Run Derby, All-Star Game, World Cup Semifinals, NBA Summer League. I'm sure some stuff is going to go down in football. We've got to see Wimbledon this last weekend. There's going to be some golf coming on this next week as well. A lot of stuff to watch out for in sports. You think it's the dead time of the summer, but I promise you it's not. You just got to find where to watch it. Again, follow us on all of our social medias at Your Sports Digest, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. You can find us all there for our short form content. Share this with somebody that you know loves sports and would be interested in listening to this. I appreciate your guys' support as always, and I will see you guys at the end of this week.